Alex, I'm going to begin this next one with a question. This
Hmm.
relates to Nvidia and its drivers. It comes from Evan. He says, since the introduction of the Nvidia app, it seems like there are ongoing issues plugging the Nvidia drivers that result in inconsistent behavior. Apps not showing on the list, the changes not being applied properly to games, etc. Has Alex or any other team members seen these issues during testing recently? I'm not seeing a lot of press on these issues, and I'm wondering how broad the awareness is, and if NVIDIA themselves understand the scope and severity. So, Alex, are they really having more issues than, as Rich put, Mad Magazine? Or was
I,
that you?
that was definitely Rich.
Okay, that was Rich.
uh, I would say there's been a lot of issues with the most recent NVIDIA drivers. It's basically been around since Blackwell launched and a little bit before then maybe as well. There's a whole host of them, but Evan here makes mention of the NVIDIA app, which is now kind of being pushed into the driver to replace GeForce Experience and eventually presumably replace a lot of the aspects of the NVIDIA control panel, but that still ships with the driver. The problem is the NVIDIA app, as I've seen it, installed on three machines here, excuse me, is extremely finicky to the point where it is just not working a lot of the time doing things. One of the biggest issues mentioned here is that apps not showing on the list, which is a common thing, and to apply settings to them, they need to be in the list. But even if they are added into the list manually by seeking out their exe, it'll say something like its settings cannot be found. I forget the exact wording, but basically the application cannot have the settings applied to it because it isn't being like scanned and detected properly by NVIDIA. Now this is pretty important for a lot of the expected features. So you have to use global settings at that point. But another issue that also comes up is you want to replace like DLSS in the game, which is the new thing that NVIDIA is touting everywhere. You want to maybe have RTX HDR specific options applied to the game. You maybe want to run a different form of sync with it. There's anything you could really want to apply in there, and it's just not working. And I specifically think the DLSS, the inability to change whether or not you want to use MFG in that game, to use the transformer model, to use any of the other new kind of cool DLSS features like they just recently added the ability to change the DLSS scale manually in the driver, which you could do before with third-party applications. Those are all things that aren't just working. And for newly launched titles, like I was just covering Assassin's Creed Shadows, I can't get it working at all for that game, even though it's like advertised as part of the driver package. And I've display driver uninstalled it, DDU'd the driver away. I've deleted the app. I've reinstalled the app. I've deleted the cache for the app, which is located in like app data and your local settings there. Nothing makes it work. And it's not just like one game. It's a whole host of games that it doesn't detect. And I don't know why. And reading online, it's a whole bunch of people that are having this issue. And another issue that has come up, I'm just going to list a couple of them here to give you a sense that there's a lot of stuff happening, was RTX 5080 on launch. And until thereafter, and I am still getting it occasionally on an RTX 5080, I'll get black screens where it doesn't, where the PC black screens and has to be manually restarted.
I also have a problem lately that I wanted to flag just as something that's driven me nuts. Since upgrading to Blackwell, the 5090 here, I've been unable to use HDR on my desktop properly. It works in games, but when enabled on the desktop, there is random flickering.
Oh yeah.
Like if you actually take like a capture of what's happening, it's just like giant color blocks will appear in spots. At first I'm like, wait, is this a GPU issue? But no, it actually goes away if you switch to single monitor mode. It's only a problem in dual monitor mode for me, and I'm finding other people talking about this. No drivers solved it. Nobody seems to understand like what the heck is going on, like why is it doing this? But it's extremely annoying.
Yeah, it is not good. So there's that. And another issue that dramatically impacts my ability to do my work is that NVIDIA has once again broken VSync. And now this doesn't just affect, so the idea is basically, I logged this a couple of years ago, well, a year ago, and then also happened another time in between now and then. was essentially if you turn on VSync in a game, instead of like running at 60 hertz or 120 hertz or 144 hertz like you'd expect, the game will instead lock, while running in a 60 hertz container, will lock to like 58 or 59 FPS, or, you know, a subsequent smaller number for 120, like it would be like 118 or something like that on a 120 hertz display. And this is bad because it makes the game constantly judder and it's unplayable with VSync. Now, another problem here is that VSync is currently not working very well with multi-frame generation as well too. So if you go above your VSync level there, you'll get frame tearing. If you enable VSync with multi-frame gen, it acts really weird in a way that like it's almost like it's cutting out frames that are not being shown. It's just not working correctly at all. It's like super jittery and not right. VSync is broken in the driver. And for me, I cannot record videos to get them looking good without VSync. And this is really important for DF content production. The only way to get it working again, VSync working again, is to rely on essentially Windows doing VSync through the driver instead of the GPU taking control. So you turn off hardware GPU accelerated scheduling, which I don't find very reasonable, because that means in games you can't like do reflex anymore, you can't do MFG, you can't do FG, whatever. None of those things work anymore without HAGs. So it's not a great situation. There's like a whole bunch of failure cases for a lot of things. And I'm not even touching on everything. Like they released a driver where you couldn't apply stuffing to MVCP without DDUing the driver because it would give you like an XML error. And it was like, what on earth is going on here? I don't know. I just really expect a lot better from a company as big and as rich as Nvidia. Obviously they have a lot of work with them with so many GPUs being launched, but the Nvidia team has been for a long time the place where you go to expect like the highest level of driver stability and quality, as well as feature set, with an unfortunately very slow interface. But now like you have this interface that isn't complete yet with the NV app, but it's not working consistently. That's one thing I would never complain about with MVCP. The NVIDIA control panel was always really consistently working, just horribly slow, right? Now NVIDIA app, not consistent, which makes it, in my opinion, useless, because when you edit things in the driver, it has to be consistent.
It has Windows 11 syndrome. There's this thing that this is something that Microsoft's user interfaces have suffered from actually for a while, where in an effort to make things look pretty, you know, spinning icons and all kinds of just like instant response. But there's always this sense that sometimes your clicks, your inputs aren't doing anything. Like you're clicking the button, it looks like it's doing something or supposed to, but nothing actually happens. And it's very frustrating because the interface communicates one thing, but the reality is different. And that's just, that's something that I feel like we've been seeing more and more with some of these modern user interfaces. And yeah, now the NVIDIA, the new app has that same problem.
Yeah. So. It's for me, I just really want to see a return to the driver quality that I experienced like around summer or so last year, where it seemed like something was happening and things were working like I expected them to be. Now I'm not seeing any of that. And it's actually gotten in the way of my production. Last week or a week and a half ago, when I was trying to figure out why I was seeing frame drops in footage I was recording, I originally thought it was like my capture connection was broken. So I was switching out capture cards, wasted like half an afternoon essentially trying to figure out what was going on. And it's the fact that the NVIDIA driver is broken is the actual problem.
Yay.
And that's not fun. It's like working out Premiere issues. Same thing. Adobe Premiere issues. Like, is this my setup? No, it's Premiere. It's always Premiere. It's
always Joey.
Yeah, in this case here, I just want to put a PSA out to people. If you are experiencing issues that you haven't expected, like or you just are new, I would say the NVIDIA driver quality at the moment is pretty bad. In terms of stability and user features working correctly. And I'm seeing what you are seeing, and I'm not happy with it too. So this maybe is verification of some of your disappointment.